Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome back to Planet Zoo, another habitat speed build today. Just a short one, quite a simple one actually today. We are doing some greater flamingos. Simple for a couple of reasons. One, I really wanted to get another habitat that you folks can put into your zoos if you wish to. So this one sort of perfectly is rounded out and is very easy to blueprint and go down. So it'd be great to see some of you use this one. And also simple because I've been a little bit short for time these last few days. I've mentioned it, I think, already. But we actually have relatives visiting at the moment from the UK. So my recording time hasn't been what I would normally have. Normally, Nicola takes Xander to work with her a couple of days a week. She works as a nanny. And also he goes to a childminder. So I get plenty of time to do my videos. But this week, because family have been visiting, and let's be honest, they're here to see him, not any of us. We've been having him at home a lot more, and we've been going out and doing stuff with him, which has been really great and really fun, but it has meant a little bit shorter time in Planet Zoo. So this is the sort of last of the mini speed builds, really. After today, my mom's actually flying home today, so after today we'll be able to really dive in. So not only have we got some more of these one-off speed builds coming that I really enjoy doing, because it just means we can be really varied with the architecture and stuff. We've also got Zoo School coming, which is going to be a series where we look at real-world habitats, really focus on the details of the habitats and try and replicate them in Planet Zoo. First one of those is going to be Bengal tiger, and you can expect that just after the weekend, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. And then also, we're going to be starting our first zoo series where we actually go through and build a zoo from start to finish. That is going to be a North American wilds zoo. It's going to be a Canadian wilds zoo based around sort of tundras, log cabins, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really fun. If you haven't seen it already, if you check out our Discord, there's some teaser images on there of what is to come with that. But let's talk about what we're building here today. Like I say, relatively simple exhibit, but I still really enjoy building it. One thing I really wanted to do here is build some fences that didn't use the in-game fences. Again, I mentioned this in the last video. I think it's quite ironic that we asked so long for a fence tool, and then when we got given the fence tool, I end up actually making half the fences by piece like I used to do anyway, because you just get a lot more variation with them, and you can make them a lot more interesting looking. And I think, again, I've said this before, if you can't hide the fence, make a feature out of it, like we've done here with that sort of African fence there. Along the back there, you can see the regular wooden fence. We do go ahead and hide that fence using some foliage and stuff later on. Unfortunately, the flamingos don't have a very high tolerance for foliage, and actually, if you do end up placing this down and you look at the stats, you'll find that they're not too happy about the foliage. There's just a little bit too much of it, but luckily everything else is so high that their overall welfare is still pretty good. Unfortunately, the flamingos don't eat as you would expect them to eat in water. They do still need a feeding platform like this one, which is fine. This one actually looks pretty good. And if you take the time to cover it in some rocks like we did here, I think it's pretty good. And again, so the limitations of the game, there has to be somewhere that the sort of keeper can go and feed and fill. So they fill this up, and then they also place some. I didn't put any actual feeders down because that's just not really how flamingos eat. They are they're what's the words? They filter feeders. There we go. That's the word. They filter feed, so they sit in the water and they bear their heads down and sort of filter through the water and take out bits of krill and shrimp and all that. Famously, it's a bit of a sort of classic factoid that they actually get their pink coloration from the amount of shrimp and krill that they eat. It's specifically material called carotenoid, which is what gives them, it's like from the tiny shrimp that they eat, gives them that rose pink colour. So they actually start off white and grey, and then they actually sort of turn pink over the first couple of years of their life. So yeah, if you see a baby one, they'll be white, and then the adult ones have got a slightly more pink colour, although the greater flamingos that we're seeing here are more of a whitish pink, as opposed to some of the real sort of hot pink colours almost that lesser flamingos and other types can get. Talking of babies, these animals are monogamous, so they just have a single partner, and they actually only lay a single egg a year, which is pretty crazy compared to most other birds. And if that egg gets destroyed for whatever terrible reason, they won't lay another. So that's it. They get one baby a year. And that can often mean that if there's something terrible happen, like a hurricane or whatever, that can end up wiping out a bunch of eggs, it can actually take these animals quite a long time to build up their populations back to what they were. But saying that, these aren't endangered. They're especially the greater flamingos. They're pretty much everywhere. All over the world you can find greater flamingos pretty much. Here we're building a sort of African savanna kind of layout, but actually they're pretty happy in most climates, apart from the sort of real cold. But you can find these in Africa, Europe, America, all over the place. One thing I wanted to do here then was to give relatively naturalistic barrier here to kind of make it tricky for the guests to sort of see over the rocks, and they have to move around, because this, as far as I'm concerned, flamingos need to be at the front and centre of the zoo. Every zoo has to have flamingos at the front, and that's another reason I really wanted to make this exhibit, because this first zoo that I'm building is based in the tundra where you wouldn't have flamingos, so I can't put my flamingos at the front of the zoo. So I really wanted to make this just to get it out of my system, because I know I've been talking about it for ages now. I hope we get flamingos because they need to go at the front of the zoo. So because of that, there's a nice open viewpoint. The idea here is that you walk up to these and sort of see them all lounging and basking in the water. So because of that, there's a large area that guests can get to, and it can sort of stress the animals out. So I've used some rocks there that sort of peak up a little bit high, so some of the rocks you couldn't actually sort of see over. The idea is there that the guests can sort of break themselves up and move themselves around a little bit. The buildings you've seen in the back, they're just stock buildings. I just had to put those down to get some staff buildings in. Even in sandbox mode, there's only ever 4 flamingos at a time on the trade place, the animal trading, so it did take me a little while to build up the population. They actually want around about 10, I think, minimum in their exhibit before they really start to get happy, so we had to take a little while, so we had to make sure we had all the staff and stuff, and also I'd forgot to turn diseases off, and a couple of them got diseases, so we had to put down a vets and all this sort of stuff. I would really like to see, although you can turn some stuff off in Sandbox, I'd really like to see more options there, especially things like power and water, cleanliness and all that. I'd really personally think that needs to be turned off in Sandbox mode. But even still, enjoyed making this one. Like the use of the foliage pool there, sort of tying it into the rest of the building rather than have it just sort of plonked down, I think makes a huge difference. Really happy with how that turned out. The best thing is when they go and fill that forage. I keep calling it a foliage pool. I mean a forage pool, excuse me. The best thing is when they go and fill that up and they all flood over to it, and they stand around in a perfect circle. It's fantastic. Obviously, the AI is trying to find a spot that's free, and they just form themselves in this awesome circle. You can just imagine them all chatting there going, all right, Deirdre, you enjoying your krill? Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? It's a bit warm today, though. I don't know why, but I think of these flamingos as little old women. But yeah, like I say, short one, nothing crazy, nothing. The shelters there that I built, they're based on the sort of classic giraffe shelter, actually. I wanted to do that sort of man-made shelter on this one that they can go and hang out under when the weather gets a little bit miserable, although it doesn't very often here in this savanna biome. It may well do wherever you end up putting this. So yeah, link is in the description to the workshop item. Please go and get it if you want it. Here you go, you see them all hanging around for some food there. Make sure you rate it as well, that really helps out getting more people to see it. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. Simple build, but like I say, I was a little short for time this week. Tomorrow we start on some real big crazy stuff, new zoos, zoo school. Can't wait for you to see it all. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one, be good.